Zuri Kamara came home tired after a long day in Kavala City, but she still cooked a warm, comforting dinner. She moved around the small kitchen with quiet care, hoping maybe, just maybe, tonight her husband Lekin would come home in a better mood. He used to be sweet, thoughtful, the kind of man who would hug her from behind while she cooked. But lately he had turned cold, arrogant, and always angry at something. The moment he walked in, the atmosphere changed. Lekin didn't greet her. He didn't even look at her. He tossed his bag on the couch and started complaining about the traffic, his co-workers, the heat, everything. Zuri swallowed her words and stayed calm, telling herself it was just another bad day for him. She set the table gently, placing the plate of food in front of him with a small, hopeful smile. But Lekin didn't even try to smell it, let alone taste it. He stared at the plate like it offended him. Then, with a sharp, careless movement, he lifted it and dumped the entire meal straight into the trash bin. The sound of the food hitting the metal echoed through the room. Zuri froze. Her hands trembled. She felt her heart drop to the floor with the same force as the plate. She had spent hours cooking, and he threw it away like it meant nothing. Lekin didn't look guilty or ashamed. He didn't say a word. He just walked away, muttering under his breath about how he deserved better. In that moment, Zuri felt something inside her break, not loudly but quietly, painfully. The humiliation burned deep. She stood there in the kitchen, staring at the trash, realizing this wasn't just a bad evening, it was a warning of something much bigger. Zuri didn't move when Lekin stormed out of the kitchen, still muttering insults under his breath. She just stood there, hands resting on the edge of the counter, staring at the empty space where her dinner plate used to be. Her heartbeat felt slow and heavy, like her body was trying to protect her from feeling everything at once. The room was quiet now, painfully quiet, but inside her chest was a storm she had held back for years. She replayed his words in her mind. "Your cooking is useless. You don't do anything right. I should have married someone better." They weren't new. They were just sharper tonight, cutting deeper than before. Maybe because she was already exhausted. Maybe because she had tried so hard. Maybe because she knew she didn't deserve this, but kept taking it anyway. Her eyes drifted to the trash bin, where the food she made with love and effort was now smeared across plastic. For a second she felt tears push up, but she forced them back. She had cried too many times behind closed doors. She remembered every night she stayed awake waiting for Lekin, every morning she tried to make him smile, every argument she swallowed just to keep the peace. She remembered how she apologized even when she wasn't wrong, how she made excuses for him when friends asked if she was okay. All the tiny hurts she had pushed aside came crashing down at once. The sarcastic comments, the cold shoulders, the way he laughed at her dreams, the way he rolled his eyes when she talked. First she thought they were small things. Tonight she finally saw the truth. They had been breaking her piece by piece. As she stood there, the humiliation slowly transformed into something else. Something steady, something strong. It wasn't anger. It wasn't a loud explosion. It was quiet clarity. She realized she had been fighting so hard to keep a marriage that only she was holding together. Lekin wasn't her partner anymore. He wasn't even trying. And tonight, when he threw her dinner in the trash, he also threw away the last bit of respect she had left for him. Zuri inhaled deeply, letting the silence settle. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't confused. She wasn't doubting herself. She wasn't hoping he would change. She simply knew. This moment, this exact second, was the one that broke her but also the one that woke her up. She wasn't going to beg for kindness anymore. She wasn't going to stay small to avoid conflict. She wasn't going to carry a marriage that was crushing her spirit. Something inside her shifted, firm and unshakable. She was done. Zuri moved around the kitchen slowly, almost quietly, as if she didn't want to disturb the heavy truth settling inside her. She picked up the plate, wiped the counter, closed the cabinet doors. Simple actions, but each one felt like she was cleaning more than a kitchen. She was clearing her mind, clearing her heart, clearing the lies she had told herself for years. Her hands worked, but her thoughts ran deeper than ever before. She remembered the girl she used to be long before marriage. Bold, confident, full of dreams. The girl who didn't fear anyone's opinion. The girl who laughed loudly, traveled alone, cooked because she loved it, not because she was trying to please a man. She missed that version of herself, the version who walked with her head up without apologizing for existing. Somewhere along the line, she had shrunk herself to fit into Lekan's anger. She had learned to talk softly so he wouldn't snap. She had taught herself to walk on eggshells so he wouldn't explode. She had forgotten her own worth just to protect his ego. Tonight reminded her of everything she had lost. As she rinsed the last dish, she whispered to herself, "No more." Her voice was soft but steady. The decision growing inside her wasn't wild or emotional. It was calm. It was clear. It felt like finding a door she didn't realize she could walk through. Zuri dried her hands and reached for her phone. She didn't want to cry. She didn't want pity. She wanted someone who truly knew her. Someone who would remind her who she was before all the pain. She called Malaika, her childhood friend, her sister in spirit, the one person who could hear her silence and understand it. Malaika answered on the first ring. "Zuri, what's wrong?" The moment Zuri heard her voice, her chest loosened. She didn't go into details. She didn't have the strength. She simply said, "He threw the dinner I made in the trash." There was a long pause. Then Malaika's voice came through firm, steady, and full of love. "Zuri, listen to me. You don't deserve a man who throws your love in the trash. That food wasn't just a meal. It was your effort, your care, your heart." Zuri felt her breath catch. She wasn't alone. She wasn't crazy. Someone saw her. Malaika continued, "You're brave. You're smart. You're not meant to live a life where you're treated like this." As the words sank in, Zuri felt something inside her strengthen. She didn't shout. She didn't cry. She simply knew she was done letting Lekan hurt her. That night, in that quiet kitchen, Zuri made a silent decision that would change her entire life. She would never let anyone dim her light again. Over the next few days, Zuri became quieter on the outside but sharper on the inside. She watched Lekan carefully, not with fear anymore, but with a new kind of awareness. Once you stop making excuses for someone, their real behavior becomes painfully clear. She noticed how he came home later and later every night, always with some weak excuse about extra work or urgent meetings. He used to at least pretend to be tired or stressed, but now he walked in smelling like expensive cologne he didn't normally wear. Sometimes he didn't smell like anything at all, like he had showered somewhere else before coming home. His phone never left his hand. He kept it face down, locked with a new password he refused to share. When it buzzed, he would rush to the balcony or the bathroom to answer in a low voice. If Zuri walked too close, he would snap, "Can't I have privacy?" Privacy. In a marriage. Then there was the money. Zuri noticed little things first. Missing cash, unexplained withdrawals, small charges that didn't make sense. At first she brushed them aside. But now, with her mind clear and her heart steady, she looked closer. One night, while Lekan slept like a man with secrets, she opened their shared bank account. Her fingers trembled as she scrolled through the statements. There it was. Payments to a woman named Tanisha Okoye. Transfers labeled help, rent, emergency. Hotel bookings in cities Lekan claimed he traveled to for work. Expensive gifts charged to their card. Jewelry stores, boutiques she never stepped into. Every line felt like another slap. Zuri sat back, feeling a quiet sadness, but also a strange calm. So this was the real reason behind the dinner incident. It wasn't the food. It wasn't her. It wasn't anything she did wrong. It was guilt. It was ego. It was Lekan trying to make her feel small because he knew he was the one destroying the marriage. He tried to cover his cheating with anger. He tried to hide his lies by blaming her. He tried to shift the guilt by humiliating her. But the truth was now clear, crystal clear. Zuri closed the laptop slowly and stared at the wall. She felt no tears this time. Instead, she felt something cold and powerful move through her. Clarity, strength, and a rising determination she hadn't felt in years. Lekan thought he was playing smart, living two lives, controlling everything. But Zuri now saw exactly who he was. And once a woman sees the truth, everything changes. Zuri didn't shout. She didn't confront Lekan. She didn't accuse him or start a fight. She knew exactly how he would twist things. He would lie, blame her, call her insecure, or pretend she misunderstood everything. She wasn't giving him that chance. Not this time. Instead, she became calm, dangerously calm. She moved through the apartment like someone who had finally opened her eyes. She watched him carefully, memorizing his patterns. She noted every time he left the house, every call he took on the balcony, every moment he looked nervous when she walked too close. But she said nothing. Silence became her strongest weapon. Late at night, when Lekin snored loudly after another late work shift, Zuri opened her laptop again. She downloaded bank statements, took screenshots of transfers to Tanisha, printed hotel bookings, saved receipts of expensive gifts. She checked call logs on the phone bill, hours-long calls to the same unknown number. She even photographed his forgotten wallet one morning, where she found a receipt for a romantic dinner for two. Every piece of evidence went into a hidden folder on her phone and a copy in her email. She wasn't planning revenge out of anger. She was protecting herself. One afternoon, when Lekin texted that he'd be working late again, Zuri took a deep breath, dressed neatly, and went to see a lawyer, Mr. Abiola, known for handling messy marriage cases with quiet professionalism. The moment she sat across from him and showed him the documents, he frowned. "Mrs. Adu," he said, adjusting his glasses, "you're not imagining anything. This is solid proof of financial misconduct and infidelity." He tapped the folder. "If you choose to leave him, you can protect your assets, and he cannot drain your accounts any further." Zuri felt something warm spread through her chest. Not happiness but relief, validation, strength. For the first time in a long time, someone wasn't telling her to be patient or give him time or try harder. Someone was telling her she had rights. Someone was telling her she was not powerless. Mr. Abiola continued, "Whenever you're ready, just tell me. You already have a strong case." Zuri nodded slowly, a small but confident smile forming. "I will." Walking back home, she felt a strange mix of sadness and power. Sadness for what her marriage had become. Power because she finally had control over her next steps. At home, Lekin came in hours later, smelling of the same cologne and wearing the same fake tired expression. Zuri looked at him, not with love, not with anger, but with understanding. He thought he was playing a hidden game. But now, Zuri knew the rules better than he did. And her plan had already begun. That evening, Zuri moved around the kitchen with calm, steady hands. She cooked Lekin's favorite meal, the one he always praised before he changed, the one that used to make him smile with pride. The smell filled the apartment, warm and familiar, and for a moment it felt like she was stepping back into an old version of her life. But inside her heart, everything was different now. In her handbag, tucked neatly beneath her makeup pouch, were the divorce papers. Clean, prepared, final. It felt strange knowing that her future was sitting right there, just a few steps away, while she stirred a pot on the stove like any normal wife ending a long day. When Lekin walked in, he froze for a moment. The smell of his favorite dish hit him, and his face changed, almost proud, almost smug. So you finally remembered how to cook properly," he said, dropping his bag on the couch. Zuri didn't react. She didn't let her face show even a flicker of irritation. She simply smiled softly and said, "Dinner is ready." Her calmness made him comfortable, relaxed, confident again. He sat at the table with the arrogance of a man who thought he had won. He didn't know she had seen everything. He didn't know she had been collecting evidence. He didn't know a lawyer had already prepared every detail. He didn't know tonight was the last time he would ever eat a meal made by her. As he dug into the food, he hummed in satisfaction. "This is good," he said with his mouth full. "See, when you behave, everything is peaceful." Zuri just watched him, her eyes steady, her smile gentle. It wasn't a smile of love or admiration. It was a peaceful smile, the kind someone wears when they have made a decision that cannot be shaken. Lekin noticed it. His fork paused midair. "Why are you smiling like that?" Zuri shrugged lightly. "Just thinking." He frowned but didn't press further. He was too busy enjoying the meal, too sure she had returned to the quiet, obedient woman he could control. He didn't realize he was eating in the calm before his own storm. After dinner, he went to shower, whistling, unaware that his life was about to shift forever. Zuri cleaned the table slowly, her mind already in the next morning. Every movement she made was calm, intentional, confident. Tonight, she wasn't the broken woman who had cried over the trash bin days ago. Tonight, she was the woman who had her future ready in a folder inside her bag. And the peaceful smile on her face. That was the smile of a woman who knew the storm she was about to unleash. The next morning started like any other, but Zuri already felt a different energy inside her. She woke up early, showered and made breakfast, not because Lekin deserved it, but because she wanted to keep the day calm, controlled and on her terms. The divorce papers were tucked neatly in her bag, ready like a quiet fire waiting to burn everything he thought he controlled. Lekin came into the kitchen with that usual irritated look on his face, as if the world existed just to disappoint him. He glanced at the table and immediately began complaining. "Why is the tea not hot enough?" he snapped, lifting the cup. "And the eggs are overcooked." "Zuri, seriously. Is this the best you can do?" Zuri stood at the sink, washing her hands. Not shaking. Not scared. Just steady. She turned off the tap, dried her hands with a kitchen towel, and slowly walked toward him. Lekin didn't notice at first. He was too busy criticizing the food he hadn't even tasted properly. Then she placed a thick white envelope on the table, right beside his plate. Lekin frowned. "What's this?" Zuri met his eyes with a calmness he didn't recognize. "Since you love throwing away what I offer," she said softly, her voice firm and unbroken. "Here, throw away this marriage too." He froze. His fork clattered from his hand. His eyes widened as if someone had pulled the ground from under him. The color drained from his face as he reached for the envelope with trembling fingers. What is this supposed to mean?" he stuttered, opening it. "Read it," Zuri said simply. When his eyes landed on the words, "Petition for dissolution of marriage," his breath hitched. The arrogance disappeared instantly. His mouth fell open, but no words came out for a moment. It was the first time in years that he looked completely powerless. You're divorcing me," he whispered, confused, angry, scared, all at once. Zuri nodded slowly. "Yes, I'm done. You threw my effort, my love, and my dignity in the trash. Now I'm taking myself out of this house before you try to throw me away too." Lekin stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. "Zuri, stop. Don't be dramatic. We can fix this. You're overreacting." But Zuri wasn't the same woman anymore. She didn't flinch. She didn't blink. "No, Lekin," she said. "You broke this. I just finally stopped pretending it could be fixed." He reached for her, desperate now, but she stepped back calmly. The morning sun hit her face, and in that light, she looked like a woman reborn. Steady, strong, free. Lekin held the divorce papers with shaking hands. Zuri walked past him, not looking back once. And for the first time ever, he was the one left speechless. For a few seconds, Lekin just stood there, holding the divorce papers as if they were burning his hands. Then the panic rushed in all at once. His face twisted, his voice cracked, and he started talking too fast, like a man watching his whole world slip out of his fingers. "Zuri, wait, you can't be serious," he said, stepping toward her. "You're doing too much. We can fix this. Change. I promise." Zuri didn't move. Her calmness shook him more than any shouting ever could. He tried again, louder this time. "Okay, fine. I messed up. But you can't just walk away from your marriage like this. What will people say? What will my family think?" Zuri raised an eyebrow. "Your family doesn't live in this house. You do. And I'm done suffering inside it." That pushed him into fear, real fear. He began pacing, running his hands through his hair. "Zuri, please. Please. I can stop seeing Tanisha. I'll block her right now. Look. He grabbed his phone and waved it in the air. Zuri's voice stayed steady. "You should have thought about that before you drained our accounts for her." His expression snapped into something darker. "Wait. Oh, so you were spying on me, following me, going through my things," he barked. "Maybe this whole divorce thing is your fault. You've been acting distant lately. Maybe you pushed me to do what I did." Zuri simply blinked. "I'm not arguing with you." He slammed his hand on the table. "You think you'll survive without me. You think anyone else will put up with you? Zuri's lips curled into a small smile. I'm not looking for someone to put up with me. I'm looking for peace. That smile made him explode. He lunged forward and grabbed her wrist, squeezing too tightly. You're not leaving me, Zuri. You hear me? You are not. Before he could finish, Zuri pulled her arm back sharply and lifted her phone. She pressed one button. Beaker. A voice echoed through the kitchen. Good morning, Mrs. Adu. How may I help you? Lekan's entire body froze. Mr. Abiola. Her lawyer. Zuri spoke clearly without shaking. Good morning, sir. I just wanted to confirm that everything is ready on your side. I'll be sending the signed documents today. Yes, everything is prepared, the lawyer replied. And remember, you are fully protected. He cannot touch your accounts or assets anymore. Lekan turned pale. Completely pale. Zuri ended the call and looked him straight in the eyes. You have no power over me anymore. He didn't shout again. He didn't touch her. He didn't even breathe properly. Because in that moment, for the first time, he finally understood. Zuri wasn't threatening to leave. She had already left. Zuri stepped into her new apartment in Mabira Heights and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. The walls were smaller, the rooms cozier. But it didn't matter. This place didn't just have space for her things. It had space for her life, her dreams, and most importantly, herself. She unpacked slowly, enjoying every small decision. The bright yellow curtains, the little potted plant on the windowsill, the spot where she would set up her tiny kitchen studio. For the first time in a long while, Zuri baked purely for herself. The smell of fresh bread and cinnamon rolls filled the apartment, reminding her of the girl she used to be, the brave, independent woman she had almost forgotten. She smiled as she pulled out tray after tray of perfectly golden pastries, humming softly. It wasn't about impressing anyone, it was about reclaiming joy she had lost. Then came the idea that would change everything. She opened an online page, sharing her recipes and little stories about baking, love, and resilience. She didn't name Lekan. She didn't blame anyone. She simply shared her passion, her craft, and the lessons she had learned along the way. The response was immediate. Thousands of followers started pouring in. People who loved her recipes, yes, but more than that, they loved her story of strength. Women from all over messaged her, saying how her courage gave them hope, how they saw themselves in her struggle, and how they finally felt inspired to stand up for themselves. Every notification brought a small thrill. Each message reminded her that freedom didn't feel empty, it felt alive. She replied to the women who wrote to her, encouraging them, laughing with them, and sometimes crying with them. She realized that by taking control of her life, she had also become a light for others who were still stuck in darkness. Evenings in her apartment became her favorite part of the day. She'd light a candle, bake a new recipe, and watch videos of herself explaining techniques, her voice confident and warm. She didn't need anyone to approve her happiness anymore. Sometimes she thought about Lekan, but only briefly. There was no anger now, only clarity. She had left that life behind, and in its place, she had built something that was hers alone. Zuri was free. She had her own space, her own dreams, and her own power. And every time she sent out a fresh batch of bread or posted a recipe online, she remembered exactly how it felt to take back her life, and to know she could never be broken again. Months passed, and Zuri's life had completely transformed. She now owned a small but vibrant food studio in Mabira Heights, a place where she taught baking classes, experimented with new recipes, and partnered with local chefs to create unique dishes. The studio buzzed with energy, students laughing, ovens humming, and the sweet smell of fresh bread and pastries filling the air. Zuri felt alive in a way she never had when she was trapped in her old marriage. Her online following had grown too. People from across the city and even other countries tuned in to watch her videos, try her recipes, and hear her story. She shared everything about her passion, her failures, and her journey to reclaim herself, but never once mentioned Lekan. Her story became one of quiet empowerment, and it inspired thousands of women to take control of their own lives. One afternoon, as she was arranging freshly baked cupcakes on a display, she saw him, Lekan, looking older, tired, and defeated. Rumor had it Tanisha had left him after draining his accounts, leaving him broke and humiliated, the same way he had tried to humiliate her. He stood at the entrance of the studio, watching her with a mix of hope and fear. Zuri looked up, smiled softly, and walked past him without a word. She didn't need to explain, defend, or even acknowledge him. Her life was no longer entwined with his chaos. As she reached the counter, she turned just slightly, enough for him to hear her words clearly. "You threw my dinner in the trash. But I served myself a life you can never taste." The words hit him harder than any argument, any fight, any insult ever could. He realized then that the woman he had tried to break had built something far stronger than anything he could ever take from her. Zuri returned to her students, laughing at a small mistake one of them made while frosting a cake. Her heart was light, her life was hers. She had won, not through revenge, not through anger, but through herself, her courage, and her unwavering determination. And in that moment, surrounded by warmth, laughter, and the smell of sweet pastries, Zuri finally knew the true meaning of freedom and triumph.